Welcome back. Today, Attorney General Jeff Sessions testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, saying that he personally advocated for the firing of former FBI Director James Comey.
I don't think it's been fully understood the significance of the error that Mr. Comey made on the Clinton matter.
Sessions continued to accuse Comey of engaging in negligent behavior while handling the Clinton email investigation. In the wake of this revelation, Trump tweeted that according to the FBI, Comey drafted a letter exonerating former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton just 2 months before the investigation was complete. The president continued to accuse Comey of lying, leaking documents, and protecting Clinton. Meanwhile, Sessions told senators he would not disclose confidential conversations between the president and himself. To discuss this further, we are now joined by conservative commentator Steve Malzberg. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. Now, what is Trump so upset about here?
Well, back in August, we learned from Chuck Grassley, the Senate Judiciary Committee chair, and Senator Lindsey Graham, that Comey had drafted a letter or a memo kind of to himself in May of 2016 exonerating Hillary Clinton. The problem is that he hadn't interviewed about 24 witnesses, including Hillary Clinton. Now, only the other day did the FBI confirm, yes, in fact, James Comey did that. So naturally, Donald Trump is outraged, as everybody should be, that he went to the podium in July of 2016, Comey did, and said, you know, hey, I'm not going to recommend any charges. Hillary isn't prosecutable, blah, blah, blah. But he made his mind up based on that draft memo in May of that year, 2 months before he made the statement, again, before any witnesses of significance were interviewed. So Trump is saying that far from Comey costing Hillary the election, Comey turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to Hillary, he said in one of his tweets, and I agree with him.
Steve, what about Trump's claim of a lying under oath?
All right, this goes back to the fact that James Comey told Congress that the reason he came forward in July of 2016 and made his big speech about nobody would prosecute Hillary, she didn't mean to, we're not going to charge her, blah, blah, he was prompted to do that because of the meeting between Bill Clinton and then Attorney General Lynch on the tarmac, if you recall. But now, of course, this memo shows that he was all set to go back in May. That meeting with on the tarmac was June. The memo, again, was May, which predates it. So there's a lot of problems, and you know, there's a good chance, I believe, could be, that Donald Trump has a point here.
Do you think Comey will be called back to Congress?
Yeah, there are several congressmen, including, no slouch, Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, a former prosecutor himself, who was great and said, wait a minute, you know, how could you possibly draft a memo prior to interviewing 24 witnesses about the case, and then you tell Congress one thing and it turns out it's another thing? He would like to see him come back, and I think it's basically a fait accompli that he has the power to do that, and I think several committees would like to hear from James Comey once again.
Let's talk about Sessions now. In your opinion, what's Sessions' view on this?
Well, you know, Sessions is upset, as you heard in that soundbite today, where he testified. He said that we shouldn't underestimate the error that Comey made. Now, one of the errors, obviously, as we see, is reaching a conclusion before talking to witnesses, which, again, I stress and cannot stress enough, is insane. But also, he's talking about the fact that Comey, as an investigator, as head of the FBI, came out and made an announcement as to culpability of a person under investigation before the Department of Justice had a chance to weigh in. And he said you should never, ever do that. So it reinforces in his mind that he did the right thing in recommending in a letter to Donald Trump back before the firing that indeed Trump should fire Comey.
Now, do you think he's going to heed Trump's request for a DOJ investigation into Comey?
Well, you know, Trump didn't come right out and say we should, you know, but he did say, where's the Justice Department on this? Why isn't there one? So that was his way of saying it. Unfortunately, I wouldn't hold my breath. I mean, this has been begging for a federal investigation for a long time. I mean, once Hillary was exonerated by Comey and Sessions became Attorney General and Trump is president, you would have think that would have been the first thing they would have done. Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, there's so much to investigate, and none of it has been undertaken by the Department of Justice. So based on the what we've seen to date, I wouldn't hold my breath, unfortunately, because I certainly think there should be an investigation.
Steve, thank you so much for your insight. That's conservative commentator Steve Malzberg. Thanks again.
My pleasure.